Welcome to Module 4, during which we will be reviewing social identities and social identity theory. So unlike the last two modules, cognitive development and then intra and interpersonal development, each of those domains pertains to an individual, how the individual learns, how the individual understands themselves, how the individual understands the relationships that they have with others. Social identity adds an additional layer of complexity because it's no longer just the individual, it's the individual in relation to social groups and social contexts. So social identity theory can be a little bit more complicated to wrap our heads around and have a few more moving parts, but is incredibly important in student development theory, in the development of your students, but also in the development of yourself as a higher education professional. So the purpose of these videos in this module here is this first video should be a bit shorter and it will introduce the module. We'll go over the readings and assignments as well as the use of a few additional videos in this module above and beyond really what I've included in previous modules. So the readings for this first portion of the module, so this week I really want you to focus on, are the Evans, Forney, Guido, Patton, and 10, or Green textbook, chapter 13, which is going to introduce social identity theory and kind of the historical context. And then an article from Torres, Jones, and Wren about social identity and student affairs, so what the connection is to us as higher education professionals. Next week, then, I didn't put this up here because there's a few moving parts, but you will read one more chapter from Evans, Forney, Guido, Patton, and Wren, which I'll explain in a bit. And then there is one more article up in Blackboard for the following week. So during week 1, you'll read again chapter 13 in the article. There is a discussion board. I've included a video prompt, so this will be the first external video that you'll watch for this week. And then I did want to note, I know we've talked about this and it's noted in the syllabus, but at the end of class this upcoming week, you will be assigned one chapter between 14 and 18 to focus on for the next week. So instead of reading all of 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, which is 5 chapters, 5 pretty hefty chapters, I'm going to have each of you focus on one, and then you'll have a little bit of time in week 2 during class to get together with other students that read that chapter and prepare a short, very informal presentation that you'll give to the class. So in lieu of reading 5 chapters, you're going to work in small groups because we've learned that that can be good for our development, and then share your information with the class. In week 2, again, we'll use that outline chapter in order to share it. And then I will also have additional videos posted in Blackboard, they're actually up right now, about people talking from the perspective of those that share various types of social identity theories. So one of the complex parts of learning social identity theory is that we don't belong to all social groups, and so it can be harder to put ourselves in the shoes or learn from the perspective of others. So we're going to watch a few videos of people with various types of social identities talk about themselves and others and kind of how they perceive the world and how they believe the world perceives them. And then, of course, we have our fourth portion of our theory paper in parts. A challenge for me to you from this module, learning about social identity theories, as I've mentioned, it can be a bit complex. As you'll read in chapter 13 and we will cover in class, there's a lot of history behind social identity theory, and it can feel tense. You can feel yourself resisting in different places, maybe feeling a little bit agitated or upset. Maybe you'll notice this in some of your classmates. Maybe you'll read about it in some of the discussion boards, and maybe some of our classmates will share some pretty personal things in relation to how they perceive their social identities. And I just want you to be aware of this and to think about those times when you're feeling a little bit less comfortable or tense, or you're feeling somebody else maybe giving off that vibe, that's an opportunity for growth. That's often a indication that we're learning something new, that feeling of discomfort. And it's a chance for us to consider new perspectives, which we've learned from Perry is important to our cognitive growth. The other thing is when we're feeling a little bit tense or maybe not seeing as much the application of a particular theory in yourself, because again, we will not see each of these social identity theories from exactly the same angles, we might consider how each of the theories or social identities that we study will apply to our students and our work in higher education. So it's just another way to frame your thoughts as you go through Module 4, because again, it can be a little bit more complex applying, learning about social identities, learning about social identity theories, and then figuring out the best ways to apply this. So I'm super pumped about Module 4. I also know that it presents some bumps and bruises along the way that are great opportunities, I think, for us to learn together. And I'm excited for our 2 weeks in Module 4.